Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming today. We are experiencing smoke from the fires in Canada and Washington, and so we can appreciate the difficulties that are going on in other places, and we can, of course, remember the people of Maui. And Yellowknife, I think, are the people now who are evacuating from their city. So the smoke that we see reminds us of what's happening in other places, and we can keep those people in our prayer and good thought. So the topic that was posted for today is leisure never ends, and that seems like a very strange thing to say in view of the lives that we lead, the chaos that comes into our lives, and the just the speed with which we all are required to live. It just seems so impossible that leisure would be something that is, endemic to Zen, but it is. So what is this leisure? When my teacher, who lives in Japan, came to the United States, we brought him over to Panorama City, where at the time we had a meditation group. And so the very first question that somebody asked had very much to do with the idea of Buddhism as being absent of soul. So the first question Roshi was asked was, "Do you have a soul? Is there such thing as a soul?" And his immediate answer was, "Well, of course you have soul. Of course you have a soul." And so people were very taken back, because there has been the idea that, yes, there's no soul in Buddhism, which is simply not the case. For me, I equate our use of the word soul with true self. We don't talk about an immortal soul as is talked about in Christianity. But the idea that somebody does not have a soul would be impossible for me to think of. And when we say, oh, that person has so much soul, we know exactly what we all mean. So yes, of course we have a soul in our beingness, and we have the true self. And we practice with that true self, with that soul, in such a way that we enrich our lives, that we take care of our lives in such a way that we enrich it every day with good reading, good music, care of one another, good food, and all the parts that make for a life in which we observe ourselves in practice. And the word observe has different meanings also. Observe means, of course, that we know about ourselves, that we look at ourselves, and then when we get a little bit wonky and a little bit off base, we correct ourselves and we reestablish our balance. But observe also means that we observe practice, that we observe various holidays, that we observe the care of our ceremonies. We observe ceremonies, which are an important part of practice. And practice is another aspect of leisure. These are all aspects of leisure. We practice with our forms, which are very difficult maybe, or strange, as people see when they first come to Zazen, when they first come to practice. But the practice, the forms are integral to Zen practice. They teach our body about the experience that is important to practice itself. They teach us about how we are together, about the the true observance of honoring and devotion to what it is to be human together. So the forms are not something that are just imposed for the fun of it or because we think that we have to be strict in some way. They really do teach us, and again, they are integral to the experience that comes with the continuing practice. So all of this is about leisure. All of this together is to be in the Dharma, practicing in the Dharma together. And when we totally embrace it, when we embrace our lives, when we touch the soul of our lives, we live in leisure because we live in that great beauty of Dharma, the great beauty of the totality of Dharma, and we cannot get outside of it. So we are in the leisure of care and protection. Written inside some of our rakasus, have those of you who have not seen, there is a message written inside your rakasu. And the rakasu itself is a protection for your whole life in the Dharma. That when you wear it, when you receive the precepts and you wear the rakasu, you are totally embraced by the Dharma, as you yourself embrace the Dharma in the observance of care of the Dharma, of care of practice. And we cannot get outside of that. So there is great leisure in the totality of Zen. Another thing that I felt I didn't understand at first, my very first teacher, Kobanchino Otagawa Roshi, would say, that is the beginning of Zazen, and that is total freedom. When the bell rings, you have total freedom. That's hard to think when your knees maybe are aching and you are feeling your posture isn't not able to hold your posture. But that doesn't matter. Still, the ringing of that bell is total freedom. There's nothing else to do for the time that we are practicing Zazen. You are liberated in that time. And so this mind that we sit with, this mind of leisure, is from the time of Shakyamuni Buddha till right now. It is the same mind of Buddha. It is not a different mind. And it is the total mind of leisure. And it has always been there, and it always will be there. So we say, leisure never ends. It never ends. So when we are, Zen practice is also not about making an absolutely perfect, trouble-free life. It's not about that at all. We're always going to have some kind of trouble in this life. And it is a part of the development of soul, development of our own soul, to be able to see through that trouble, to be able to observe ourselves within it, and to be able to carry ourselves forward as best we can through the deep troubles of fire, of Maui, of our life and world situation that we are in right now. I know that when I first came to Zen, I thought, oh, this is good. I will sit and practice as hard as I can, and I'll never have any more troubles in my life. I will sit, it will be hard, but I will do it. And later in life, everything will be just fine. And that's just not the case. I thought if I practiced really hard, that later on, things would not be so hard. But that's just not the case. Life is hard, but it's part of the enlarging of the soul, enlarging of the true self, and the opportunity, the observance to enlarge and develop that soul, that true self. So it's continuous. And once we begin in this, we are in the leisure of knowing that we are always protected and always held by the Dharma. And that is the leisure that never ends. It's hard, but it's the truth of Dharma. It's the truth of our practice. What can I say more? I cannot say more. And I promised that today would be a little bit short also, as we are going to have some leisure, a different kind of leisure in our picnic today. We're gathering and doing some socializing together and enjoying one another's company, also a kind of leisure. And any kind of leisure, playing games together is one really important practice, I think, to play games together in family and to open that space for the family, for that kind of playful interaction. This is Ryokan-san, our great teacher here. Ryokan-san had practiced lightheartedness, another aspect of leisure. And today, as best we can, to find ways to express that soul with family, to allow our children and our friends to express soul together in playfulness. Very important part of life. And play certainly comes into the practice of Zen. So I encourage everyone to find ways to play together. And we will do our best to play together today when we play bocce, as we did before. Good game, a very good game, and much fun together. So I promised that this would be short, but maybe you have some question, and we'll answer some question if you have. Yes, Nikki?
My first teacher, Eido Roshi, spoke in terms of what we're really doing on the cushion is the development of character.
Yes.
I wonder if you would accept that as the equivalent of what you mean by soul.
Sure. Well, I think that one of the aspects of Sangha is the development of character. We probably would never come together otherwise. I mean, we don't know one another particularly, and maybe we would never come together in any other way. And so we come together and we brush up against one another in ways that are difficult. Sangha is very difficult. Community is very, very difficult. And it's about polishing the character. We polish our character when we are even with one other person. As soon as you have two people, you have the beginning of politics. And then more and more and more politics as the group gets larger. And we don't always like one another. We don't always agree with one another. And so we have to figure out how to handle ourselves. And this is the development of character and the polishing of character within the nature of community and Sangha. And so as we are doing that, we are observing ourselves. We hopefully are observing ourselves, which is the practice of that soulfulness, that true self, which recognizes balance and recognizes harmony within Sangha. And that practice of harmony is very much about the development of soul. That is the development of character. So I could certainly agree with that. It's a very important aspect of understanding how we move forward in practice. But at the same time, we are ourselves, and we all have incredible idiosyncrasies and difficulties and personalities and ways of thinking that we are right and that that's how life should be. So that's always going to be there forever. Enlightenment and awakening doesn't remove the humanness that we are. And the soul is also about humanness. And it's not about perfection. It is not about being perfect or striving toward that. So, yeah, Aitken Roshi, very strong in that teaching of character. Thank you, Mickey. Yes, Bill.
Eido-san, today we will have a closing ceremony for the Zendo,
Yes.
and I'm just thinking about that. Between now and Tuesday after Labor Day, this community of practice will also come to a kind of a rest. I just wondered if you would kind of flesh out a little bit the connections between your talk about leisure today and the fact that we are all entering into this sort of recess
Yeah.
from
Well,
practice.
Once we enter a Zendo, once we sit even one period of Zazen, we can never not recognize that. You can never forget that you did that. So what we do is we carry the atmosphere of the Zendo and the atmosphere of practice with us wherever we go. You cannot forget it. It's impossible. So you can choose in this period of vacation whether you will sit Zazen or whether you will remember Zazen. But that is a given, that you will remember it. And it will nag you all the way through this leisure time. It'll just, every morning you will get up and if you say, oh, I don't have to sit Zazen today. Well, I just did, actually, by remembering that. It was just for one instant, but I remembered. And you will every single day, forever. So I know many people will go on vacation and not actually go onto the cushion, but you carry the practice with you because in that time you are still caring for the soulfulness, you are caring for the true self, you are caring for the observation of your life, you are caring for the totality of your life and the care of others. And that is a given, and that does not go away. So that's leisure also, that you know that is there. So have a good time in whatever you do. Just have a good time because that is already in you. Zazen is already in you.